You're studying international political economy, but have no idea what career to pursue once you graduate? You wonder how your day-to-day life might look like in a particular job? You want to learn more about a certain career, but you do not know whom to ask? Well, this is Edith. Edith graduated from the Vienna University of Economics in 2005. She studied international business administration and sinology. She now works for the Austrian Federal Economic Chamber in Kenya. Edith's job is to help Austrian companies to internationalize, for example, by facilitating exports to Kenya. Her daily work involves identifying business opportunities in Kenya, providing advice for Austrian companies on market entry, and reporting on economic developments in East Africa. We are the Institute for International Political Economy. Our students have collected questions for Edith in order to learn what careers you can pursue when studying economics and politics. Hello, Edith. Thanks for being here today. Tyler Durden is wondering, when you chose your field of studies, did you want to make the world a better place or did you want to earn money?
I still believe you can do both, and also at the end of the day, you have to make sure you pay your bills. So of course, when you choose a job, you have to consider a number of factors. One is your passion. So I really recommend everyone to follow their heart, number one, because you have to be happy by what you do. Otherwise, you will not even be good at it. So first of all, ask yourself, what is it that I want to achieve? And number two, of course, you need to look at how am I going to be independent, for example. And the monetary aspect also means independence in your decisions. So my short answer is, I guess you have to consider both.
Hugh Jazz would be interested to hear, what kinds of skills did you obtain during your studies and are they helpful for your current job?
Actually, I know that sometimes we think that whatever we learn at university is not really useful in daily life. But for me, it's on the contrary. So what I have learned at the University, Business and Administration University in Vienna, was very useful for my job. So I majored also in international trade. And this is actually where I am today, and also international marketing. And I use a lot of what I have learned theoretically during my studies. I use it every day. So sometimes, yes, I agree, you have to pick up something that you might not need every day, but the majority of what I have studied at our university in Vienna was very useful for my job.
Shackwheel Oatmeal is pondering, what is the importance of good grades compared to things like volunteering or social engagement?
Again, I guess it helps to have both in life, so I'm not saying you don't need good grades. Good grades also stand for, okay, I really understood what we are talking about, and that's an advantage. Good grades shouldn't come, at a good university, good grades don't come from, oh, I just learned it by heart and I can repeat what the book was telling me. Good grades should come from whatever I've read, I can put it into practice, and now I can show that I have mastered that art. So that is important, but it doesn't mean that you should bury yourself in books all day and night. It also means that voluntary work teaches you other things. It teaches you how to work with people, and it teaches you to be modest, for example, and it also teaches you to give. And of course, this is also extremely important in a society where sometimes being egoistic and putting yourself first is more rewarded than thinking of others. So I think this is an extremely important part of life as well. So if you ask me one or the other, again, I can only say being successful, meaning to strike a balance.
Here for the pizza wants to ask, international political economy is a fascinating subject, but I'm not sure that it will pay off in finding a job. Is there a lot of demand for people that are able to combine politics and economics?
Oh, yes. I'm sure that there is a lot of demand for people who have both skill sets available and deep knowledge of both politics and also economics. And it never hurts to understand how market works, whether you go into the private sector, you work for a company, you go into the corporate world, you start your own business, or you work for the government.
IPE student on IPA wants to find out, many master programs sound a lot alike. Can you recommend master's programs that combine economics and international politics?
What I recommend is to not only look at the title and the packaging, but look at the content. So what I've learned in my career so far is that it's more important from who can you learn. Can you find a mentor there, somebody you look up to, where you would say, yeah, I've studied with Mr. So or Mrs. So-and-so, Professor So-and-so, and I've really gathered in-depth knowledge. And that is probably more important than the packaging.
Unicorn Cat would like to ask, what job experiences did you make while you were still studying?
I really went out of my way to be different. That also was one reason why I went to study Chinese, the Chinese language, Chinese culture, and I complemented it with business administration. And I think that was very helpful for building my career. So yeah, you have to think deeply first. What is it that I have passion for, I have an interest for? What do I really want to do with my life? For myself, I did an internship at the Austrian embassy in Beijing. I also went to do an internship at Advantage Austria in Shanghai. So I spent half a year to study Chinese in depth every day, speaking to people, using it as my working language. And I took another half a year out of my schedule to study in Perth. And all of that helped me to become more complete as a person. So when you go and graduate from your university, it's advisable to have a record to show.
Holly Golightly is wondering, was there a specific event in your life that made you want to pursue this career?
Yeah, I guess it was curiosity. When I was 17 years old, I took a trip to China just out of curiosity. I had to convince my parents to let me go and see for myself. And I was so fascinated by what I've seen, the drive and the culture and the different approaches to problem solving, that I came back and I made up my mind. I had two different careers in my heart. Either I become a medical doctor or I study business administration and the Chinese language and culture. And this trip made me decide the second one.
Lucky Luke is curious, did you plan your career, or is your current job merely the result of lucky coincidences and random opportunities?
I think you can plan your life to a certain extent, and the same goes for your career. So in my case, I knew what I wanted to do from the word go. So when I was still at high school, I already made a plan. I already decided. Then I did my internships just to confirm that the picture that I have is actually matches reality. And I went into that field. I thought, do I want to become an ambassador, a career diplomat, or do I want to become a commercial counselor with the Federal Economic Chamber? And from there on, I decided, yeah, I have a passion for business. I just want to understand how it works, how people engage, what they do, how they do it, how they make the decisions, why they make money, others don't make money, you fail, how to get back up. And that fascinated me, and I decided to apply for that job, and I did it very systematically. So to answer the question, I think you have to set yourself a goal. So it starts from soul searching. You say, okay, fine, where do I want to go? And then you also set yourself a goal. This is step number 2. And then you plan yourself, how do I reach my goal? And you talk to the right people. You find people who do the same thing and who can advise you. And at the end of the day, what helped me most in my life was finding the right people I look up to, where I feel this is a mentor for me. I want to be like this person in various aspects. It doesn't mean you can copy them or you should copy them, but they can teach you a lot. And then you know, in this direction, this is what I want to do.
Tyler Durden wants to ask, how important was your prior work experience for getting your current job?
So the internships that I took during university were really crucial for me. I could show that I was already working in the same organization for 3 months on a voluntary basis. Actually, maybe a funny story. I applied for an official internship at the time with the Federal Economic Chamber, and I didn't get in. And instead of giving up, I just tried harder. So I sent them a letter, and I said, look, I know that you have been turned down, And I don't even ask for pay or compensation or what as a volunteer. I just go and work for you guys. I don't need to be paid. And I did that for 3 months. And I think what got me the ticket was that perseverance, where you say, look, I still want to do it. Please give me a chance. And from there on, I built it up from there. So I built myself a reputation as a hard worker. And when I then applied for the job and went through all the different processes to get assessment center and so on, they already had a file on me which said, okay, she really wanted to do this. She paid for the flight, for the internship, for everything, for cost of living, everything by herself. And she did a good job. So maybe we should at least give her a chance and give an interview.
Bob Paulson would be interested to hear what qualities and skills are absolutely necessary to be successful at your job.
What is necessary? I think it's a set and it's a lot. So Austrian businesses are our customers, and you do whatever helps them to achieve their goals, to sell, to enter the market, to find the right people. And for that, you have to think out of the box. So our job is not so much a desk job where you say, okay, let me just research online, Google. Everyone can do that. So the skill set that you need is probably you have to be a very good networker and connect the dots in your mind first. So whatever you read, whatever you hear, the people you get to know, you make a mental note. And when the opportunity arises, you just put them together. And that's our contribution that we can make and help Austrian businesses successful.
Tumba would like to know, is knowledge of English sufficient for your job, or is it necessary to also know Swahili and other local languages?
English is sufficient. I'm a very lucky fish in that sense because Kenyan official language in Kenya is also English and Swahili, but the main language that unites the business world is English. So it's not absolutely necessary to speak Swahili, but of course it helps because when you study a language, it also helps you to understand the culture and the way how people think. And therefore, I recommend to try and study Swahili at least at the basic level, also to show that you have interest for the people and the culture.
Unicorn Cat is pondering, what advice would you give us for finding the right job after university?
My advice is to be honest with yourself. So ask yourself that question, what do I want to achieve in my life? When I look back, let me say I'm 70 years old and I look back at my life, I probably have certain goals and some are personal, but in a professional setting, how can I be proud of myself and say, this is what I've built? And from there on, it will fall into place.
Wonko der Verständige 42 would like to know, what is your salary?
I'm surviving. Let's put it this way. I would say it's a good salary. It's not extraordinary, so don't do it for the money. But at the same time, it should also give you that comfort that you don't have to go out and look for other money. So for us, we only have one job, and you're not allowed to pick up another job whilst you're doing this one, and that's a contractual obligation that you have. So the money pays for a comfortable life, but you won't get rich doing this job.
Holly Golightly would be interested to hear, what does your typical day at work look like?
The good thing is there is never a dull moment, and my days are all different. So I have a certain timetable for the week, and also, of course, we are looking ahead, but you have to be extremely agile. And that's a combination of two factors, because on the one hand, a commercial counsellor does what helps the Austrian economy, and that can just come up. So you get phone calls, please, my truck stuck at the border, what can we do, it's urgent, Then, of course, you had a plan for your day, and you say, oh, I want to achieve A, B, C, and D, and I need to answer to these emails. But then, of course, you have to rush and help. So my days are all different. I meet a lot of people, I meet a lot of companies, I go to events, we host our own events, we do network events, we participate at trade shows, we give a lot of interviews, we provide platforms, we do videos for our own LinkedIn page. So there is almost anything and everything included.
I am lost wants to find out, how would you rate your work-life balance?
That's a tricky one because in this position, it's more of a calling than just a 9 to 5 job. So you are a commercial counselor day and night and 24/7. So the work-life balance, you have to really love your job and thrive on it, because it's not something that you just leave at the office, you close the door and then there you go. Um, you have, yeah, to be honest, very honest with you, you have to strike a balance, and that's a challenge.
Ray Hawk would like to know, how does politics, either in Kenya or Austria, make your job more challenging and or interesting?
I think this is a very general question in the sense that politics, whether we like it or not, really affects our lives, our private lives, our professional lives, and no matter what you do. If you're a private business person, politics will affect your life. If you work in government, politics will affect your life. So how it affects us a lot, I would say, both the Kenyan one and the Austrian one, and we feel it immediately. Let's say a change in the tax regime, for example, or import regulations, a change of government, if a high level political visit is announced and then all of a sudden the government changes, maybe you have invested a lot of time already in preparation, now somebody else is coming. So it affects us a lot.
Bilbo Beutlin is wondering, what surprised you about the job?
I think the first 3, 6 months or even a year are full of surprises. You don't know what to expect, what is expected of you, how do I fulfill my role? And this is why you start as a deputy commercial counselor, and you do that 3 times 3 years. So meaning you'll be a deputy for about 10 years, and then you go back to your head office, and only then, after you've done all these steps and also proven yourself that you're flexible enough to work for this organization around the globe, not only where you want to go, not only in New York or in, Monaco for that matter, but also maybe in other places where at the first moment you would think, okay, this is quite a challenge. You would also have to show that you are willing to take hardship. Yeah, you have to also show that you are a team player, that you can work in a large team, large organization in the head office, formulate policies for that organization, help to instill them, do trainings, internal trainings. So work really at that head office, and only then you're allowed to put in your application to become a commercial counselor. So we don't really have people who come from all sorts in various fields, and maybe later in life, 15 years after they have started their careers, they want to enter this profession. For us, you have to make this decision when you're young, ideally straight after university, and then you have to, work your way up, I would call it. And so this is how you actually build up this career.
Oopsie Doopsie 123 would like to ask, have you ever been afraid at your job?
Yeah, we do have posts which are more challenging in a security sense than others. And to a certain extent, you can actually talk to the head office, HR department, and see that this is also taken into consideration. So you have to be the type for it. If you can't manage, or if you have personal reasons, let's say a baby that is traveling with you, you will not be sent to the most dangerous place. But for myself, I think Johannesburg is considered a rather dangerous city. And I got scared a number of times.
Somebody is curious. Is it possible to both have a family and to be successful at work in this profession?
Oh, it's definitely possible. It's very possible. And I think as an organization, we try to accommodate as much as possible also the family needs. At some point, but you also have to know what you're getting yourself into. We see a lot of colleagues that start extremely ambitious and are 100% convinced that they will dedicate their personal life also to a certain extent to this profession, because you have to move until you retire. That's inherent in this job. And you're very willing to move and be derooted when you are young and it's exotic and you want to see the world. The older you become, the more difficult it gets to leave friends, family behind. And after so and so many years, you start from scratch. So is it possible to have a family? Yes, very much so. Most of our colleagues do. Is it a challenge also on them? Does it sometimes take a lot of commitment? Definitely it does.
IPE student on IPA wants to learn, do you want to do this job until retirement, or do you consider switching careers at some point in the future?
So when I started my career, I started it with that idea in mind that this is what I want to do until I retire. And I still think so. It's a calling, really. It's something that you do because that is what you wanted to do, and that's what makes you happy. But on the other hand side, of course, I can never rule out that your perspective on life changes, or something in your life might come up, and so even there you have to be flexible. And what we've seen is that the dropout in our case has become more and more. It used to be one profession for life, but we also need to see that the whole environment has changed in terms of loyalty to one workplace, and that sometimes circumstances also change. And what we see is if you know something is calling you louder than what you're doing right now, it's also understood by our employer. Nevertheless, it's a pity, because until you become a commercial counsellor, your employer has invested a lot of confidence and a lot of training and a lot of time in that person. So ideally, I will stay on this job until I retire.
Edith, we collected honest questions. Thank you so much for your honest answers.